Hello there folks, and welcome back to another speed paint video. This week I'm going to be doing some more Fakemon type designs, and these designs will be inspired by a blog called Fakemon-Universe. If you are on Tumblr, you might have seen Fakemon-Universe, or maybe not. Maybe I'm introducing it to you. It's a pretty nice little blog. They've got a lot of resources and stuff for making Fakemon or fan Pokemon designs. They've got these wonderful prompts as well that come out weekly sometimes. It kind of depends, but the prompts are always really good. They come with things like typing, scale, color palettes, like keywords. There's all sorts of stuff that gives you a lot of inspiration, and the prompts are always open-ended, so you can incorporate as much or as little as you want from each prompt. Really, you can just do something like just the color palette, or just the typing, or just the habitat, or pretty much whatever. But it's a pretty cool resource, and I found it pretty fun to go for some inspiration here to make some Fakemon designs. So here, I go through 2 evolution lines that I made based on 2 different Fakemon-Universe prompts. So, without further ado, let's get into the speed paint. This first family is based on prompt number 1, and this one, I feel like I had like a vision pretty much immediately as soon as I saw this prompt. And I guess to be fair, I was trying to look at the prompts in chronological order, so I was looking at them from 1 to I think the current one that's number 15 or 16, and yeah, this one I just really resonated with. The color palette was very cool. There's this light blue, a light green, and a dark purple. The type was Flying Fairy. The habitat was called the Alluring Cave. Its body type was body type 12, which is the bipedal tailless Pokemon form. And its body size was giant, its special feature was super buoyant, and the random word was old. And despite that being a lot of different prompts, all seemingly fairly disparate, I had a pretty clear vision from the start. I wasn't gonna do just like any old flying Pokemon. I was gonna do something kinda weird. An animal that, as far as I'm aware, doesn't fly in real life. If anyone knows any rabbits that fly in real life, please let me know. I would love to see it. Anyway, I'm going with rabbits. Originally, this was just going to be like a single Pokemon, but as I was making the design, I was realizing that it was kind of implying another, like, pre-evolution, like a smaller, younger-looking form. Since the big form, I really wanted to embody, like, the old man vibes. Like, I wanted him to have, like, this fluffy beard, his ears that kind of resemble, like, clouds or fluffy, feathery wings. I tried to give them all these curls that kind of look like stylized clouds as well, and I just wanted this to have, like, a round and whimsical vibe, which I feel like fits the fairy typing. And honestly, just like the color palette was singing to me. I don't know, it just kind of reminds me of a certain type of sky color palette. And I don't know how else to describe it, but I feel like I had a vision when I saw this prompt, and I knew exactly what I had to do. I don't have names for any of the Pokemon in this video, by the way, so if you have any good name suggestions, please let me know in the comments, because as of right now, these guys are basically just like Fairy Bunny number 1, Fairy Bunny number 2. Or, like, that's it, guys. That's all I've got. So, if you have any name suggestions, again, I would love to hear them. The pre-evolution, the little guy, I wanted him to seem like a little wisp of smoke. Like, I kind of wanted to give the impression that he never, like, hits the ground at all, really. Like, he's always flying around. He's always, like, in your face, maybe being very mischievous. I still gave it, like, white hair to kind of foreshadow this vibe that it's gonna become, like, an old man with a lot of white hair. I gave it like this white mane to echo the shapes of the beard that you see, which the beard itself has a lot of shapes that I was hoping would seem like a cartoon cumulus cloud of some sort. And honestly, the pre-evolution might be my favorite of these 2 designs, but only because it gave me a lot less trouble than the final version. The final version, I ended up doing a lot of experimenting with the colors, which I'm sure you are looking at right now. I went through a lot of different phases trying to decide what the main body color was going to be, how I was going to color the ears, and the feet, and the mustache, and the beard, and oh god, there was just, I didn't want it to feel too flat, and I wanted it to feel like a reasonable progression from the other form. So, yeah, I really wanted it to read like it's a final Pokemon design and not like an extremely simple monster, and getting there was pretty tough. One of my favorite parts about this design would have to be the eyes. I made them have like these sort of like narrow slit-like eyes that I felt like kind of made them look like an old-fashioned like kitsune mask, which have like those very narrow eyes. I think it gives them more of like a benevolent or mischievous spirit vibe that I think is very appropriate for a fairy type, especially one that lives in a cave that might have a lot of like ghost or dark type Pokemon. So while these guys aren't very malicious, they are definitely, especially the younger one, very prone to causing trouble and getting into, you know, troublesome situations. And honestly, it was quite a challenge dealing with like the coloration and the value marking for that big one, but I'm pretty happy with how the design came out. I think he came out like a big cloud. There's something so like bliss adjacent about this color palette. It's probably just because it's like a light blue and a light green, and that really sung to me as like, I don't know, it's not to like overuse the word, but like it's kind of Fruitiger Arrow to me, this color palette. And something about that like evokes like so much like bright, vivid nature colors, which I think is so fitting for like a fairy type, which is like a spirit. And then that applies so much for a flying type, who instead of being like an avian animal is represented by clouds. I don't know, this one was pretty involved, but I still had a lot of fun with it. It was a challenge, but like not in a bad way. I'm ultimately pretty satisfied with where it ended up. It just took a lot of work to get there, and I hope you guys enjoy the final result as much as I do. The second prompt I decided to do for this video was prompt number 8, which I know I'm not doing them in order, I just kind of did them based on which ones I had ideas for. I just so happened to have an idea for the first prompt first. Anyway, this is prompt number 8, and this has like a varied green color palette where the darkest color is actually technically a very dark shade of pink or violet, and it has a light yellowy green, a mid-tone forest green, its type is ghost poison, its habitat is the pulsating lake, and its body type is Serpentine, which you'd be surprised what Pokemon qualify as Serpentine. When I went to go look at the list for some inspiration, I was pretty surprised to see, you know, Palisand was there, so was Sandygast, Wo-Chien, not that surprising, but it was kind of weird. Cresselia, really? Cresselia's got, like, arms and legs? I don't know, that was weird. Yeah, there's just some, there's some surprising Pokemon that are classified as Serpentine-shaped. But still, it gave me enough inspiration, and I ended up going with a very classic type snake design anyway. Oh, by the way, its size is giant. Its special feature, it says on the prompt, it has powers based on its latent energy and is able to manipulate the energy of others, and the random word was bead. Now, this combination of like ghost type, manipulating energy, and bead put to mind the idea of like prayer beads for me, right? Like, when you think of beads with spiritual power, I feel like, for me, that's the first thing I think of. So I ended up doing a design where the final form has like these like orbs that resemble like a bracelet of prayer beads going around its body, and its baby form has like less powered up beads, but it still looks like a mischievous little snake. I really wanted these guys to look like they can get into trouble. I mean, I feel like ghost and poison type Pokemon are often like playful and a little bit mean-spirited at times. Like, I don't think they mean bad things, but they can be a little nasty at times, and I think they can get into some real mischief and cause a lot of trouble, and way more so than our previous line of Pokemon. And like I said before, please, these guys do not have names, so please let me know if you have any suggestions for these cute little snakes. I guess little is only appropriate for the small one, though. The big one is pretty large. I'm kind of imagining it as being, like, just a stupidly huge Pokemon. I'm picturing, like, the white snake god character from Monogatari, whose name is totally slipping from my mind, but I'll put a picture of it on screen. If you look at that snake, I'm picturing this thing as literally, like, that big. Maybe not actually that large, but still, like, huge. Like, it's a huge creature. And the baby one is, like, maybe the size of, like, a normal snake. I thought it would just be a lot of fun to give it, like, the sort of, like, godly quality, like, not, like, Christian god-esque, but more like Shinto kami. Like, this guy is a very local god. And it's specifically, like, maybe not legendary, but a very powerful Pokemon from, like, a very specific, like, swamp or something like that. Like, some kind of freshwater environment. Like, I also wanted to take inspiration from green anacondas, which is another, like, water-dwelling, freshwater, big, giant green snake, which, I mean, there's a lot this thing has in common with the anaconda just from the prompt alone. And while anacondas are not venomous at all, they're just really great constrictors, you know, this guy's a poison type, so he's got lots of beautiful magic poisons going on in him. Maybe the orbs that it has, like, explodes on its enemies like vile, like, bombs of poison or something. I don't know, that could be fun. Anyway, this design was pretty challenging for me. I had to come up with, like, a lot of ways to make these feel like Pokemon and not just, like, flat green snakes, because making them actually into snakes was, like, a deceptively difficult decision. Like, when people picture snakes, they do picture, like, a green, just plain old little serpentine creature, which is fine. Some snakes look like that. But for it to, like, feel like a complete Pokemon design and not just, like, a generic cartoon snake, I wanted to have a little bit more noise and a little bit more, like, focus and direction. So making a snake that was green meant that I had to start from the most basic, like, stereotypical idea of a snake and try to turn it into something that didn't feel stereotypical and instead felt a little more interesting or specific, as opposed to, like, very general or broad. So that gave me quite a bit of trouble with this one. This color palette was also deceptively tricky. I wanted to incorporate more of the warm tone from that dark color in some of the midtones as well, because I thought it would be interesting to make the beads on the large one, like, kind of glowing with spiritual/toxic energy. So there was a lot of, like, strange balancing of values I had to do, and I'm honestly pretty happy with how it all came out. It was really tricky. But I feel like I hit a good middle ground. Like, I feel like these look like Pokemon, not just generic cartoon snakes, which was the biggest thing I was worried about when I picked this prompt and saw that color palette and was like, okay, but can I make it work? And I think I ultimately was able to come up with something that feels like a Pokemon and feels like something that isn't actually in Pokemon yet. Like, this doesn't remind me of any one specific Pokemon that already exists. It just seems like something that could maybe exist, maybe one day in the future. I guess we'll have to see. Maybe Pokemon Day will give us a nice ghost poison snake or something. I don't know. That's a very specific hope to have, but I'm pretty happy with how these guys came out, and I hope you guys like them as well. And with that, that's all I've got for you guys today. Which of my evolutionary lines I made today was your favorite? Was it my flying, fairy, beautiful little sky rabbits? Or was it the very mischievous and godlike ghost poison snakes that we saw? Whichever one was your favorite, please let me know in the comments. And again, if you have any name suggestions for them, please let me know, because I have not been able to think of anything clever, and I would love to hear if you have any good ideas, because I'm sure a fresh set of eyes looking at them will help me come up with really good names. And since this is the last video that I'll be putting out before my Kickstarter ends, this is my last time to tell you guys, please go check it out. My Kickstarter project, Westy Stickers and Pins, ends this weekend on Sunday, February 9th, and you really only have this weekend to go check it out at this point. Please go look at it before it is gone. I would love for this project to hit its full funding if it hasn't already, and I would love to hit as many stretch goals as I can too, since I would love to release the sticker sheets and the additional designs. Like, I'm especially excited about, like, the Alien, Angel, and Devil, which that stretch goal is only $100 past the goal, so even just, like, 3 orders past our goal could push us to that point. So if you're thinking about getting these but you aren't sure, I ask of you, please consider it. I would love to make this project a success. I would love to hit my goal. I would love to hit some of my stretch goals. And this is my last chance to get to ask you that. So if you haven't already, please consider checking it out. Share it with your friends, you know. I just really hope that this thing hits its goal and that I'm able to actually print these stickers and pins like I would like to. And if you're watching this after the project is over or you'd like to support me some other way, Ko-fi is another great way to do that. I have commissions open on there, I have a shop full of adoptables, I've got memberships, so you can get benefits like discounts, items that are only available to monthly members, exclusive behind-the-scenes art, all sorts of really cool stuff is on there. So if my campaign's over and you'd like to support me some other way, Ko-fi's another great way to do that. Even just having more followers on there is really cool to see, so yeah, Ko-fi's a really great way to support me as well. And with that, I believe that is all I've got for you guys today. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you guys again next week with another speed paint. And until next time, why don't you go out there and make some art?